Hello folks, and welcome to another snippet of the Major Arcana in this video series. Today we are exploring Major Arcana key number 7, the Chariot. And most of the imagery you see is going to be a person in some kind of a chariot with two creatures, one pictured in black usually, one pictured in white. Oftentimes they can be horses, sometimes they can be sphinxes in order to bring through some of the Egyptian mythological type of imagery. The important thing to remember is under the philosophical premise that you and your life is like a vehicle on a pathway, and you yourself are the drivers. The horses, which represent power, or that might also be represented by the sphinxes or the lions or whatever is drawing this chariot forward, they usually represent some kind of power or strength or leadership. Oftentimes, either a canopy overhead or some kind of a headdress, perhaps a warrior's breastplate. These symbols in the cards that you see are going to be signifying some kind of an alignment with your astrological destiny, an alignment with higher power, an alignment with your focus. The whole point of the Chariot card is willpower, but not so much in an intellectual, forceful kind of a way. Carolyn Myss wrote a book called Anatomy of the Spirit. And in many of her writings, but I remember this in particular, when she was talking about each of the chakras, she was talking about the power of surrender that comes with your throat chakra, the power of your voice, your self-expression. This can be likened to a kind of willpower. The affirmation that was expressed was something to the effect of surrender your will to divine will. When we recognize as energetic beings that the divine is within us and that we are one and the same and connected to it, although we might be a small holographic portion of it in this physical reality on the earth plane. What we see is that when we are in alignment with our higher self, when we are connected to consciously, conscientiously, deliberately with the divine as it enlivens us, and we are aligned with that and connected with it, connected to our higher self through our crown chakra, grounded, we can balance these two forces of our human nature. Oftentimes people talk about it being desire and intellect, right? Ego and superego, or something of that nature. We try and pummel it down to something that almost seems more tangible, but it's really not. It's recognizing that we are on this pendulum swing between our authenticity and our inauthenticity, between our true self and being connected to the web of life and to source energy, and not being connected to, being ruled by our astrological charts and the heavens and the stars and the powers that be, whether they be seen or unseen forces, versus having freedom of will. Actually being in a mental, emotional space to see clearly the way forward and how to walk with that. And so the driver of the chariot needs to be centered and grounded and aligned and connected to their spirit side. Because it's not just mind over matter and somehow your intellect has to balance these two things, or your willpower, you have to force them into submission to listen to you. That's not the case. Whether you look at the black and white representation of the creatures or any other kinds of color combinations as being like your light side and your shadow side, or whatever the case might be, your physical nature versus your emotional nature, something like that. The whole point, represented by the Chariot card, in card 6, you chose a path, you made a decision, you followed maybe your heart, followed your gut intuition. This looks joyful to me. This looks exciting to me. This looks adventurous to me. I'm going to go this way. And you made that decision. Now, as you walk that path, or as you drive the vehicle through life on your chosen path, not that you're never going to get another chance to choose differently, not that you can't switch direction, right? But the point being that the more that you take every step in alignment with your spiritual nature, centered with who you really are, then the more that you can balance out your thoughts, your emotions, and manage your resources, your internal resources and your external resources. You're a part of life, and you do have everything that you need, and you can take inspired steps and inspired action in order to move forward or make decisions or overcome challenges, especially when you're faced with bumps in the road. Or let's keep going with the analogy that's in the card, right? You end up getting a lame horse or, your wheel gets broken, or the weather makes a roadway impassable, or something else happens, other travelers on the road, right? All these kinds of things happen on the way of life, on the road of life, on our journey through life. And the more centered you are, the more of an opportunity that you don't have to be ruled by the chariot or any of its moving parts, the beasts that are pulling it, or the facets of your consciousness that are dragging you along, or the influence of anything else in your environment around you, either seen or unseen, that could lend itself to pushing you in one direction or the other. Have you ever been driving down the highway? A huge strong wind comes up and you can actually feel it in your vehicle. Actually, like, maybe it doesn't shake your car, but like you get a good strong gust of wind, and you get a couple of semis passing you or something like that. And you're going to feel that pull, right? Same things if your tire alignments are out, or if your shocks are not working and you hit like the tiniest little rock or stick, and you can feel that, right? So, in that same sense, the idea is that you can manage safely and wisely through all of that if you're in alignment, you're paying attention, you're aware, you're deliberate in how you are driving, where you are going, time of day that you choose to go, all of these little things, right? So as a metaphor for life, again, there are certain things about yourself and what you do or do not do, how you exercise your will or your will not in order to move forward? And are you in alignment with your higher self, with your best interests, in order to bring harmony and balance and forward movement to you, to your life? And with that, I leave you safely traveling in your chariots.